Hello, welcome back to Love Surf Connect. I am Alfredina and I have a story for you. I am so sure that you've probably heard this story before because it's one of the most iconic Bible stories. That David and Goliath. I love the story and I want to tell it to you and then tell you some things that I got from it. And I hope that it blesses you as it has blessed me. So, there once was a time where the people of Israel were gathered around at war with the Philistines. This is when men went to war and they encamped and they faced each other and they went at it. And in this war, the people of Israel were lined up on one side, the Philistines were lined up on the other, and they had a champion. They had a literal giant amongst them. It said in First Samuel chapter 17, where we find this story, and I hope that you take the time to like read it later on. If you've read it before, just like refresh your memory of it. Chapter 17, verse 4 says, Then Goliath, a Philistine champion from Gath, came out of the Philistine ranks to face the forces of Israel. He was over 9 feet tall. He wore a bronze helmet, and his bronze coat and mail weighed 125 pounds. Okay? He was wearing stuff that was 125 pounds. So not only was he gigantic, he was also super strong. He also wore bronze leg armor, and he carried a bronze javelin on his shoulder. The shaft of his spear was as heavy and thick as a weaver's beam, tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds. So just the tip of his spear was 15 pounds. His armor bearer walked ahead of him carrying the shield. So back to the setup. In those times, armies would face each other and they would fight. But this time, Goliath stepped out, this big bad soldier, and he made Saul an offer he couldn't refuse, right? And he said, instead of us fighting two armies and a lot of people dying and being injured, I'm going to take my side and you send me a champion from your side. We'll battle it out. And if we win, we own you. And if you beat me, then we own you guys. You'll be our slaves. Now, that's the first thing that catches my mind in this story. The enemy came in and he changed the rules of engagement. That's not how wars were fought. But the people of Israel, they were like, that sounds good. I mean, think about it. If you are an average soldier, you're like, this is great because I'm definitely not the champion. I won't have to fight. I'm gonna make it home. This is gonna be great. Our king is gonna get up. He's gonna fight this guy, beat him or not. I'm not fighting. We're good. We're not talking about me dying. We're talking about being enslaved. Is better than dying. So everybody's just quiet, waiting for Saul, the king, to make a decision. But he doesn't. He doesn't. So every day they line up both armies, and Goliath comes out of the ranks and says, come out he come out here, fight me, um, and all the other mean things that you could say to people who you feel are lower and less than you. And with all the taunting day after day after day, Saul never got up to fight him and shut him up, nor did he choose anybody from his ranks. Um, but one day, it had been 40 days of this, day in and day out. The soldiers, everybody's encamped, nobody's going home, but nobody's fighting. They're all fighting, they're all lining up. This guy is coming saying, where's your God? You guys are weak. Choose one person, give me anybody. I got this. Fight me. And nothing's happening. He laughs at them, walks back, and there goes the morning and the evening of one more day, and they keep doing that day after day until 40 days go by. Around the 40-day mark, this kid named David comes into the picture because he had brothers that were fighting in the war. He wasn't old enough or strong enough or basically ever perceived as anything great in his family. He always got dismissed. So he didn't join the war. But the father It'd been 40 days and they had gotten no there was no news about how the war was going. So he said, "Here, take this basket of bread to your brothers, and then, let's bribe the captain a little bit." He literally says, "And take these things of cheese over to the captain and then ask, what's going on? Let me know how my sons are doing, how the war is going, you go get some intel." So he was the one that used to go get the tea, if you know what I mean. So David walks over, he does all these things, and he shows up to the fight, to the fight grounds. But we know that there was no fight going on. There was nothing going on. They were just basically meeting up so one side could trash talk the other one. And that was about all that was going on. So, David, I'm going to jump to verse 26. He shows up and he hears what's going on and he looks around and he's just shocked because I'm like, why is this guy talking all this stuff about our God, about our people? Who is this um uncircumcised Philistine? Because the trash talk was on point back then. And they're just going back and forth. So David asked the soldiers standing nearby, "What will a man get for killing the Philistine and ending his defiance of Israel? Who is this pagan Philistine anyway that he is allowed to defy the armies of the living God?" So we see two things about young David. Once, he knows how to follow the instructions. That- His dad sent him over. He's getting the information. Okay. He's not gossiping. He's getting the information for his dad. Two, he's like, "So what's the job paying?" Before he goes and does anything, he's like, what can I get out of it? Because they had already been talking. Uh, a few verses before it says, "Whoever defeats this giant, he will get offer a huge reward, and he was going to be able to marry the princess, Saul's daughter." Right? So he's like, so that's what the job pays. But then something else stirs inside of him. And his second question is, wait a minute, forget the reward. Who is this guy that's being allowed to talk so much stuff about our God? Somebody needs to shut him up. And when his older brother hears him talking like this, he goes up to him and he's like, "What are you doing around here anyway?" He demanded. "What about those few sheep you're supposed to be tending to?" Like, he's like, "Not only are you not good enough to be out here with a real man in the real battle," he's telling them, "You don't even have a lot of sheep. There's a few. Go do that. That's what you're good for, kind of." And then he tells them, "I know about your pride and deceit. You just want to be in the you just want to see the battle." So he's basically hushing him. And his David responds, "What have I done now?" Like, this is such a brother interaction. Like, it just makes me giggle. David replied, "What have I done now? I was only asking a question. I'm not bothering anybody." Like, his brother's acting like if he's out with his friends in his bedroom and his little brother walked in and he's like touching his stuff. He's like, "What are you doing? Get out of here." Like, 'cause he's not doing anything, but his little brother can't ask any questions, any obvious questions like, "Hey, this is supposed to be war." And he's like, "You just want to see the battle." And my question is, what battle? He knows that for 40 days, not one thing that could be considered battle, unless it's a rap battle, has been going on, right? And it can't even be considered that because the Israelites are not even talking back. They're doing nothing but just taking the insults and keeping it going. They just, their motto is, "Let's live to be insulted another day." So um he asks him that, like, "What have I done? I'm just asking questions." Then David was reported to King Saul because David said, "Hey, I got it. If nobody else wants to volunteer, I'll do it. Like, if what you're needing is a champion, look no further. You've got me." And so somebody reports that to Saul. And when Saul finally sees David, he's like, "That's a kid. What is he gonna do?" And he tells him just that. He's like, he says, "Don't worry about the Philistine, I'll fight him." And Saul's reply was, "Don't be ridiculous. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. So he's better, he's bigger, he's more experienced than you. There's no way that you can do this." But David persisted. "I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats," he says. "When a lion or a bear comes to steal the lamb from my flock, I go after her with a club and I always rescue my lamb. And if that beast turns to me, I beat him to death with the club. Think about that. A lion, a hungry lion, because last time I checked, lions and bears, they don't go hunting unless they're hungry. A lion or a bear comes and tries to take their little sheep, their little itty bitty sheep. And I have to say that if that happens, I don't think I'm going to be running after a lion to save my little sheep over here. Like, that's not going to happen. But he would. And he'd rescue them. And if that animal didn't just run away, he would then beat them to death. Um, he said, I would catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions in plural and bears in plural. And I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from him. So at this point, Saul didn't really have much of a choice. Eventually, he was going to have to make a choice, but it would have been customary for the king to be the one to put his neck on the line and fight the champion of the other side. So I guess he figured I have very little to lose if I let this kid go, and he's coming with a very impressive resume because in at this moment he is not saying that he's saying in God deliver me. So he says, you know what, go ahead, fight him. And then we kind of know the ending. Saul says, you know, you're gonna go fight him. Let me give you you're a shepherd boy. You have no uniform, you have no spear or helmet or breastplate, you have nothing to defend yourself. So here, you can have the royal king shield and stuff. And he puts it on and he walks around. David walks around and he's like, wait a minute, I've never used this in my life. I feel uncomfortable. I can't move like this. He takes it off and he's like, if you don't mind, sir, thank you so much. But I'm going to do it without this. And he goes ahead, goes over, grabs a couple of, not a couple, he grabs 5 smooth stones, puts them in his little pouch, and he heads over. And when he heads over to Goliath, he loses it. He is so upset. He's like, what do you think? I'm a dog? He says, am I a dog? Goliath roared at David that you come at me with a stick, and he cursed David by the names of his gods. Come over here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and to the wild animals. That's what Goliath was yelling at him. Not just I'm a terror, but he was telling him exactly what he was going to do to him. And this kid was not faced. He's like, all right, I'm coming. And so David replies to him. Not only is he still going, but he's talking too. He says, you come to me with the sword, the spear, and the javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of the heavens armies, the God of the army of Israel, whom you have defiled. Today the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head. And then I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and to the wild animals. And the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And then everybody assembled. He says, and everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give it to us. So Goliath tries to throw him off his game like he's been doing to all of the people of God for 40 days and talk smack about their God and what they're going to do. And instead of this kid, literally a kid, like shrinking and feeling bad and running away, he steps up and he's like, what are you doing? And we do have a God. And everything you said you're going to do to me, I'm going to do to you, plus cut off your head. And then everybody's going to know. And he was right, because we are thousands and thousands of years removed and we know about this. And we know that there was a God and there is a God that stands up for his people, because this child took a stone and put it in his little stone thrower sling and shoots it, and it has got to be with the full power of the Holy Spirit. It hit that giant right on the head and he fell. And when he falls, David does not start, like, battling. He continue like dancing and celebrating. No, he continues to do what he said he would. He runs over to him. But remember, this child who's not a soldier doesn't have a weapon. So he takes Goliath's sword. The disrespect to this fallen soldier. With his own sword, he cuts off his head. And then everybody forget it. Everybody comes in, they start running into it. The Philistines start running away. The people of Israel take back the fight and they go after them. And there, the story of David, an unlikely hero, and Goliath, the mighty warrior, who was also a bully, being taken down by the power of God. So here are some of the takeaways that I got this time around, and I've been interjecting some of them, but I'm just gonna give them one at a time. Number one, in verses 8 through 10, like I said at the beginning, the enemy is going to change the rules of engagement. Sometimes you're going to be facing things and you're going to be distracted because the enemy is going to try to change like the rules of the fight or of the battle or of everything. So it looks like you knowing right from wrong, but society, the devil, an enemy, somebody then coming in and say, "Oh no, that's not how things are done anymore." And then you're just like, well, I don't know how to fight in this. I don't know how to, but you already know what right and wrong is. So, like David, where he showed us in verse 51, you go ahead, go back, 51 or 57. Let me just double check for you. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah gave a great shout of triumph and rushed after the Philistines, chasing them. So, the way he changed it was saying, we're going to do this one on one, knowing very well that they weren't going to submit if somebody did beat Goliath. And how do I know that? Because when Goliath was down, they didn't say, okay, take us where you're safe. They ran and they fought, right? So don't let the enemy change the way that you engage with the world, with your family, with God, with religion, with everything. Don't let that happen. And if you step into any scenario where that is already happening, boldly step in there with God and go ahead and bring it back to the way it was supposed to be. The people of God, are fighting the Philistines, the people that are against God. Okay, number two, David wasn't taken seriously by his father. And I know this because of a story before. At this point, David had already been um, anointed to be king, the next king of Israel, by the prophet Samuel. And when he showed up to his house to anoint him, Samuel said, okay, God's going to tell me who the next king is. Get all of your sons, Jesse. That's David's father. And he literally got every single one of his sons except for David. So Samuel, picture this. Everybody, the big, important prophet comes and he shows up to your house and everybody's there. There's a big feast and they line up all the kids by age. And he's going one by one. God, is this one it? No. God, is this one it? No. God, is this one it? Until they got to the very last one. And then Samuel's confused because he knows that God told him Jesse's son. And he ran out of Jesse's son, and God didn't say it's him. So he asks Jesse, hey, don't you have any more sons? And he's like, oh, yeah, there's one out in the field. And they had to stop everything and wait for somebody to get David. So in his own family, he was dismissed. He was seen as somebody less than, that wasn't good enough for anything. And he wasn't even included in the lineage. And when he shows up, his brother, who should be grateful because he's bringing him food, he's checking up on him, he's treating him horribly and shaming him in front of people. But the strangers around him did take him. They did take him seriously. Seriously enough to answer his questions honestly, and then to take him to the king when he offered, right? So there may be people in your life, and that could be in or out of your family, who you know in your heart that God is pulling you someplace, and they don't tear down the idea. They don't give you information about the issue. They tear you down personally. They're gonna be like, but you're not enough, but you're this, but you're that, but I know what's going on in you. Do what David did. Like, what did I do? And continue, literally turn around and continue talking to people of God's, to people who are in God's family and who are taking you for real. They can correct you, they can, guide you, but they won't tear you down. Listen to those voices. The next one is David saw past the conflict of the two armies and saw really what was happening. So I think, and that happens sometimes, that from the outside we can see clearly. He came in from working with the sheep and he saw two armies and he saw what was going on. There's taunting, there's all these things happening, and there's this, they're just in peril, right? Because whether it's going the two armies to fight each other or just one person versus this giant, it's not looking good for the people of Israel. He saw past that. He saw that this is their gods versus our God. This is the people of God, the people of the Lord versus this people who are going, like this giant would go and talk trash about God and about his people day in and day out. And he was able to see the conflict behind the conflict. So he spoke every time he spoke to Goliath and to the people and to the king, it was always about what God can do because this really is about God. It's God being attacked. And a lot of times we need to step back and see that the darts thrown at us, sometimes it may just be at God, towards God. And we need to leave it at that and then trust that God doesn't need you to defend him. He defends you. And it's in his name and in his power that we overcome everything. Then the next thing that I loved about the story is that he volunteered not on his own merits, but on what he had seen God do to him when he was in a similar position before. Similar position meaning they're being threatened by Goliath. He's being threatened by Goliath. Once his life was threatened, or many times, by lions and bears. And God saw him through safety. So he trusted that God could do it again. Maybe that's something that we should start building if we don't have it already. A resume of times in our lives where God has showed up in whatever instance and however he does it and sees us over to the other side safely, and keep those in our back pocket for when things come up and we walk up to something. This kid wasn't going to war to be at war. This kid was going to deliver bread. He was the Uber Eats of the people of Israel. And he shows up and he's ready. Why? Because he knows who goes with him, before him, and who sees him to the other side. So let's build up our very own David like resume to always be ready when the fight comes to us. And the next thing is the enemy will taunt you. He's going to come for you. He's going to attack you. Don't fall for it. When David finally volunteered, the enemy tore him down. Who are you? I am going to do this to you. What do you think? I'm a dog? So what he's saying is, you're not even good enough to fight another human, let alone me. Do I look like a dog to be coming out with somebody like you? And he didn't bother to get to fight him there. He responded focusing on God. He says, there is a God. And not only am I going to kill you, not only am I going to pay you the way that with what you want to do to me, your threats are going to be turned against you, but this is going to be to bring glory to God. Because that's really who Goliath is making fun of. He's saying, by my gods, I'm going to do this because your God is not good enough. Your God is not powerful enough. And the fact that God's people were like, they were fearing and being cowards in this moment, rightfully so. I mean, he was big, he was powerful. So it takes another kind of man, or rather, it will take somebody with God inside of them to be able to face a Goliath. And in that sense, we can all be a type of David. But to end, the point that really jumped out at me is, I have the song lyrics. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. If that could be, I mean, it's in the Bible, but this is a perfect illustration because Goliath was coming with a sword to kill him and then enslave all the people. That's what the enemy had in store for David. And the only flesh that was touched by that sword was the flesh of Goliath himself. Think about that. What the enemy meant for evil, a sword to kill David, was used by David to kill his enemy and leave Goliath headless. I hope that this encourages you. Maybe the way I said it is a little bit too gory, but in your life, understand that the God that you serve and that you love and whose child you are loves you. And he is powerful. And whatever, when you see the enemy in front of you, when you see the fight in front of you, pay less attention to it and pay more attention to the God that can use any weapons that they may have formed and ready and aimed towards you against them, and build up that resume. I hope you enjoyed my rendition of David and Goliath, because I really enjoyed reading it again and seeing those little nuggets. And I hope that they help feed your faith. Bye, guys. See you in the next time.